Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your co-host, DJR Stewart, and welcome to Black Men Speak.
And I'm your co-host, TDD3. It is October the 23rd, 2024, Jimmy. If it is Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Men Speak. So let's give a big shout out to Liquid for providing our theme music. And if you're wondering, Tom, this is not my cool look. This is
hey, it's looking pretty cool to me.
I'm just wearing my shades because I'm having a little bit of eye trouble today, um, which I had been doing really well, and then all of a sudden today it's starting to act up. But that's why I have the shades on. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. We upload new shows every Wednesday. The show goes live at 8 p.m. It is uploaded at 9 p.m. So, but if you're here watching, please invite a friend, a family member, or coworker so you guys have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we have our new shows. And with that being said, Tom, before we get into our show, Tom, I actually want to take one more minute to clear up a misunderstanding. It was brought to my attention here recently that a critique was done of our show um, by an affiliate radio station of WABC out of New York, and of course, they get these critiques wrong. Um, but because I describe our show generally on the opening as being bringing you the most progressive news about the black community, they took that to mean that we were a progressive left ideology show, and then were mystified when they watch the show and you have someone like me with a far right wing conservative co-hosting the show. So that seemed to be a mystery. So let me clear this up, Tom. We bring you information about the black community. When we say progressive, we're not talking about political ideology. We're just talking about steps towards making progress. Um, it doesn't have a political reference whatsoever. So if you're looking for a political, excuse me, if you're looking for a political show, go watch the Sunday shows. There's plenty of them out there. But if you come to watch us, come for the information that we provide, the opinions that we offer. Um, I think we cover. Tom is probably left of center, and I'm far right of center. So I think our personal opinion and views cover the spectrum
Yes,
of the political ideology. And so there's something we learn from both sides of the argument. And I think we do our best to try to bring that to you. But do not confuse the description of the word progressive, meaning that we are a progressive left show, and then find out that we're not, and then you're disappointed. So with that being said, one more shout out to Garth, one of my long-term enemies, who I think is behind this. Um, he's certainly the one who's posting the porn links in our chat line. He's written several comments to me. I've been dealing with this guy for years, trying to take me out, character assassination, and he even tried to attack the show, filing complaints against us. We always had to fight to get our videos back from YouTube, and I thought he had went away, but he may be back now. So we'll deal with him as they come. But anyway, let's get to our showtime and do what we do best, which is bring you the most leading edge information about the latest information about the black community on social media.
we are, of course, about progress and unity, Jimmy. And all that being said, I appreciate you taking the time to clarify and explain that because, one of the things that we do have to understand is, sometimes our politics are a little bit different, sometimes our religions are a little bit different, but, we are focused on the same goal of strengthening and unifying the black community and understanding and respecting our differences, however they might be, but understanding that we have a central goal in terms of making sure that we focus on informing and enlightening our community so that ultimately we get to the place where we have control over our own destiny, and that is the key: control over our own destiny. So
Amen.
let's go ahead and keep it moving. I want to give a shout out to a couple of folks on the chat line. Miss Audrey K, cousin Audrey K, want to thank you for joining us this evening. Brother Ed Gray from the Communist Radio Show on Saturdays, want to thank you for joining us this evening. For those of you out there, don't be scared. Go ahead and get on that chat line on YouTube so that we can hear from you. So when we talk about our stories You can chime in and or ask questions because, of course, two of the most intelligent men in the world, we are more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the show, Jimmy. We have another Giants. We have been losing a lot of Giants within the last year, Jimmy, and this week is no different. We had one of the Little Rock Nine, Jimmy, one of the Little Rock Nine. You may know this face if you saw some pictures from when Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas was desegregated constitutionally in 1957. Her name is Thelma Mothershed Ware, one of the nine students who integrated Central Rock High School in 1957, while a mob of white segregationists yelled death threats and insults, has become an ancestor at the age of 83. She was among the group of students who became known as the Little Rock Nine. She passed in a hospital this past Saturday, Jimmy, after having complications from multiple sclerosis. I actually had an aunt who passed from that some years ago. But to give you some historical perspective, because a lot of this history is not in the school books. For 3 weeks in September of 1957, then Arkansas Governor Orville Forbes, used the National Guard to block these nine children, from enrolling in Central High 3 years after the Supreme Court declared segregation in classrooms was unconstitutional. But President Dwight D. Eisenhower sent members of the Army's 101st Airborne Division to escort these students into the school on September the 25th, 1957, and acknowledging and honoring the other students who were included, in addition to Thelma Mothershed Ware. You had Minnie Jean Brown,
Hmm.
Elizabeth Eckford, Ernest Green, Melba Patillo, Gloria Ray, Terrence Roberts, Jefferson Thomas, and Carlotta Walls. And, for what it's worth, Jimmy, there are now seven. There were originally nine. One of the men, one of the brothers passed, and now we have another one. So actually, seven of the nine of the Little Rock Nine are still living.
Wow.
After this happened, the governor closed all of the schools in Little Rock, every one of them, in 1958, to try to avoid further integration because they didn't want our kids going to school with their kids. Mothershed ended up going out of state to finish her remaining high school classes because he shut down all of the high schools. The academic credits transferred back to Little Rock, so she ultimately earned her diploma from Central High. She was born, interestingly enough, Jimmy, with a congenital heart defect and was told at a very early age she would not make it out of her teens. Clearly, we can see that that did not happen.
Right.
Earned a bachelor's degree in home economics education from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, and a master's degree in guidance and counseling from Southern Illinois. Married Fred Ware in 1965, had one son, Scott, two grandchildren, and two great grandchildren. Her husband passed in 2005, Jimmy, and she lived a long, productive life. Um, she worked in East St. Louis, Illinois school system for 10 years as a home economics teacher and for 18 years as a counselor for an elementary career education before retiring in 1994. And she also worked in a juvenile detention center in St. Clair County Jail in Illinois and was an instructor of survival skills for women at the American Red Cross. By the way, each of the Little Rock Nine was awarded a Congressional Gold Medal, which they donated to the William J. Clinton Presidential Library and Museum in Little Rock in 2011. So, Jimmy, we would like to, of course, send our prayers to the family and loved ones of this hero, this pioneer, this civil rights leader at such a young age, Jimmy. And all that being said, we have to continue to understand our history so we will not make the same mistakes over again, but also understand what we are fighting for on a daily basis.
That is true.
So that is our honor for this week as we have another giant who's become an ancestor, Jimmy. What we can do since it's already 10 minutes after the hour, if we want to go ahead and start our music contest,
Okay.
we get that, it should be a quarter after the hour, and then we can go to sports. And for those of you who may not know, we have changed the platforms by which you are communicating with us. The rules are very simple. We'll play a song a cappella. The first person who identifies the artist of record and or the official title of the song will get a point. If they get both of them, the first to get both of them, you'll get 2 points. We'll do this again at about a quarter till the show goes off. And whoever wins at the end of the year will get as Jimmy promised, a nice gift. So those are the rules. The other thing is you will text your response to the number in the lower left-hand corner, 346
Mobile phones out, people.
346-666-6829. I'll repeat that, 346-666-6829.
You
So,
should go ahead and add that to your contact list when the Black Man speaks, so it'll be programmed in already. But anyway, if everybody's ready, Tom just say when, and we'll play our first music selection.
all right, we are ready. Let's go.
All right, here we go.
And I dreamed of you ever since. Now I build up my confidence. And next time you come my way, I know just what to say. Can we talk for a minute? Girl, I want to know your name. Can we talk? Can we talk for a minute, baby? Yeah, yeah. I want to know your name.
All right, so we've got 30 seconds to get our responses in. We are already starting to get some responses, so I don't think it's going to take 30 seconds. Boy, you talking about a voicemail. I'm not going to say who it is, but we've already got some responses. All right, let me see who we got here. Man, they came in pretty fast. All right, Jimmy, from what I am seeing, the first person that I see who has gotten the artist of record correct.
Okay.
Give me a second here. Let me make sure we get this right. All right, it looks like the first person to get the artist of record, which, by the way, oops. Okay, he got it. All right, actually, he said Kevin Campbell first, but it's Tevin Campbell, and he did correct himself fast enough to get Tevin Campbell is the artist of record. That is Uncle Asar.
Okay.
Is on it, and then Can We Talk is the official name of the song, which also the first to get that was Uncle Asar as well. And let me see if I got, looked like we got a close second. Let me see, give me some.
Uncle Asar got the hat trick today.
Or and it looks like a close second is cousin Audrey K. She was a very close second to get the name of the artist correct. But Uncle Asar gets both the artist of record and the name of the song correct.
Okay. Let's move on to sports. Congrats on the double point to Uncle Asar. So we have some interesting stories, Tom. So let's get into it.
All right, Jimmy, we made our picks last week, and we had this. We're going to start off with college football. I think you picked Texas, Jimmy, and I was.
My picker was off, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then I said, you know what, I'm leaning towards Georgia. You know, I haven't really seen Texas play anybody that strong, and given what Georgia, even though they lost to Alabama, I was leaning towards Georgia. But Jimmy, it was a interesting game. Georgia pretty much dominated in the first.
Tom, slight correction. They lost the first half to Alabama. They pretty much won the second half. Alabama kind of hung on for life. They did win the game though, but Georgia's been playing pretty good football since then. I wasn't paying attention. Obviously, you were, but yeah, they put. I couldn't tell the difference between the Longhorns and the Cowboys that Saturday. So
No, not like the Cowboys, Jimmy.
yeah, it was that bad. Excuse me. Yeah, it was just that bad, man. They 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 remind me of the Cowboys, man. So like two Texas teams, neither one of them can get out of the stall.
Well, Georgia did dominate for most of this game, Jimmy. It was I literally when you were looking in the stands that first half, and Jimmy will be back on in a second here. Literally, the Texas fans were looking at what everybody was telling them about their team being number one, and they were stunned when Georgia handed their hat to them, and they didn't let up. Texas tried to put up a fight in the second half, Jimmy, but Georgia wasn't having it.
Yeah, they wasn't having it, Tom. And at one point they even brought in one of those Manning sons quarterback.
Yep,
Didn't make a difference.
Arch Manning to see if they could get something lit up.
So he's a good quarterback, Tom. But yeah, yeah. Since that Alabama loss, really since the first half of the Alabama game, I guess, they really have been playing some really good football. No one's really paying too much attention to them, but I think they're paying attention now. You barely lose to the number two team in the nation, Alabama at the time. You beat the number one team in the nation convincingly. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see, how the rankings go. But speaking of the other team, Tom, Alabama, yeah,
Lost to Tennessee.
they lost to Tennessee. It wasn't I didn't necessarily call that, but I did say it wouldn't surprise me if they lost, because out of the top four, top five teams, they're probably playing the weakest. They have the weakest defense now, and yeah, they lost to Tennessee. So I don't think that in the end, unless they can run the table and get some luck from some help from other teams, that they're going to be in that top 12. Because you still have four or five teams who are undefeated who are trying to break into the top 12, even though they're small conference teams. And there's some really good teams out there playing really good football. So that may have done it for Alabama.
Well, we'll see, Jimmy. I mean, if we look, Alabama is now ranked number 15 behind my alma mater, Texas A&M, who's at 14. But if you look at what the rankings look like right now, you got Oregon at number one. Georgia jumped from number 5 to number 2 after beating Texas. Penn State's number 3. You got Ohio State number 4. I mentioned Texas 5. You got Miami, who's undefeated. You got Tennessee after beating Alabama, who jumped up. LSU, you got Clemson, and then Iowa State. Iowa State, who is number 10, Jimmy, and then you got a couple of other teams, including Notre Dame, before A&M and Alabama. Some of those teams are going to lose, Jimmy, but the issue.
The problem is that they may lose, but now Alabama's a two-loss team.
True.
Some of the teams you mentioned are on the back end of the 12, but they're undefeated.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. The good news is that, well, it's good and bad news. Missouri ranked number 21 right now. They're a one-loss team who got blown out by my alma mater, Texas A&M, who is number 21 while Alabama is 15. So they play Missouri this weekend. If they get past Missouri, and then the next game is LSU, who's now ranked number 8, Jimmy, then really the rest of their season is pretty much skiing downhill. Mercer, Oklahoma, and of course the Iron Bowl with Alabama. But they've got to get through Missouri and LSU. If they can get through those two teams, Jimmy, I think they can get into the top 12, because some of these other teams, they're going to hit some L's, some of these teams in front of them.
Well, the teams in the top of that list, they incur some losses. They'll just reshuffle the top 10. He may not drop out of it. But Alabama's dropped out of the top 12. They're going to have to fight their way just to get to a 12 spot, Tom. That should be embarrassing for a team like Alabama, because, 10, 9, 10, 11, and 12, those last 3 spots should be kind of reserved for small market teams, small conference teams. who were right there on the edge, would really have no chance of winning a national championship. And now Alabama is in that category with them, and they're an SEC power. Well, it used to be. So
This is true, and I guess what is probably the bane of the Crimson Tide Nation's existence right now is what the heck happened to the defense, because they are getting run over left and right.
they may have to call Saban back, man. See if we can consult with them or something. But yeah, this new coach, he does have a lot of freshmen playing, but Saban's had teams with, he had to depend on a lot of freshmen also, and they didn't play this bad time. So we'll see. The people in Alabama have a very short fuse that they'll give you. So if this guy doesn't quite turn around and make a run at it and get into the playoffs and at least win a playoff game or two, he may be out of a job.
Well, what is pretty poignant to me, Jimmy, is if when Alabama doesn't make it to the championship game or aren't in the top two, they were calling for Nick Saban's head. I remember several times.
Yeah, Tom, and he's probably the modern day go to coaching, college coaching.
Correct.
Yeah, short fuse even with him because they got so used to winning, they just expect that now, and they want to compete for championship, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes the people in Dallas are the same way. We expect our teams to win, we want to compete for championships, and when they fall short of that, even though winning the division title may be the pinnacle of success for some other teams. Don't mean crap to us if you don't bring the big trophy home. So that's just the way it goes, Tom. But yeah, there was some really good football, lots of upsets this weekend. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
let's get to let's go ahead and get to the big game this weekend. The biggest game this weekend is going to be LSU at number 8 versus Texas A&M at number 14. Also, one with potential implications. Number 1 Oregon plays number 20 Illinois, and Illinois, even though is not considered to be someone who anyone would pay attention to, they've been playing some very good football. Oregon always has a very speedy team. They've got a solid young quarterback, but I'm going to be paying attention to that Oregon Illinois game as well.
well, Tom, you're right. Oregon does produce some really fast teams. I don't know how they get these speedsters, man, and what they feed them up there. But they do tend to produce some really fast players, and they play fast. So I'm gonna watch it this weekend. It should be a good game. I'm gonna go with Oregon because I don't see Illinois being in that same category. Now,
Gotcha.
there's no disrespect towards them. It's just Illinois is a really good team. So until you show me differently, I'm just going to go with number 1.
Gotcha. Let's go to pros, Jimmy. This past weekend was pretty interesting. You had the Kansas City Chiefs, who took out the 49ers, pretty much dominated that game. You had the Baltimore Ravens, took out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the worst news for Tampa Bay is they lose their 2 best receivers, Mike Evans, who is their possession receiver, and then I forgot the other gentleman's name, who's more of their slot receiver. Mike Godwin. Godwin is their slot receiver. You got Pittsburgh, Jimmy, who got Russell Wilson starting for the first time this year, ended up outplaying Aaron Rodgers when the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Jets. And then what I thought was the most entertaining game of the weekend, you had the Lions, who beat the Vikings, who were up to that point undefeated, no longer. And so there was a lot happening in the NFL this weekend. And
Well, let's start the first one with the Chiefs and the 49ers.
Yeah.
I've been saying this, and I'm going to continue to say it until I see differently. The Chiefs mediocre football is still pretty good.
Yeah.
And they build their team, Tom, for playoff football. I mean, that's how they play. That's how they approach the game. So it doesn't surprise me that they took out the 49ers. The 49ers are no slouch. I know they have some injuries, but injuries are part of the game. You just have to deal with it. But also, it's an embarrassment of riches sometimes. Because, Tom, I don't see them reset. I mean, I know they reset the market years ago with Mahomes' contract. But, Tom, it's an embarrassment to me, and it should be for the league, that Mahomes is still playing at a very high level, back-to-back championships, going for a third, a triple, a three-peat, and he's not the highest-paid quarterback in the league. but yet he performs at that level. And we have the highest paid quarterback in the league, Wayne Worth a quarter. Um, I mean, just he plays. There are times he plays okay, but Tom, you cannot put the team on his shoulders and he can will a victory. He's just not that kind of a quarterback.
And Jimmy, if you want to add injury to insult, I'm looking at an article earlier today where the Chiefs are actually about to ink DeAndre Hopkins, who was a superstar with the Houston Texans. He's with the Titans right now, who aren't doing anything. And so now they're about to get DeAndre Hopkins, who was a straight stud.
Yeah, like I said, embarrassment of riches, Tom, um, I mean I know they have contract issues too with their players, and they negotiate in good faith, but you just don't hear about them resetting the market at certain positions like you do with the Cowboys. So it just seems like no matter how many times we reset the market, have the highest paid players at certain positions, we still can't get over the hump. So I'm just not convinced that paying big contracts is the answer. Sometimes you just have to have some coaching and have some players who are willing to go out there and get it done. And we just don't seem to have that on either side.
Yeah, you bring up some very good
So
points.
what's the next game? We had
Go ahead.
Pittsburgh and the Jets.
Yeah, Pittsburgh and the Jets. Russell Wilson was really the story of the day because, of course, this is his first start of the year, and he did not disappoint.
Okay, I didn't see that game, Tom. It doesn't surprise me. Look, Aaron Rodgers, had his moments, man. I think the game has passed him up, and it may become more evident this year and this season. Still a good quarterback, Tom. I don't want to take anything from him, no disrespect, but I believe he's pushing 41, 42. It's time to go and step away from the game. This is a young man's game. It's faster, they're bigger, stronger. So get out with your money and your health before something bad happens to you.
And for what it's worth, Jimmy, I mean, the least heralded great coach in the NFL, Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season, I think it's close to 18 years, if not 18 years, coaching in the NFL, never had a losing season, won something that Bill Belichick can't even say at this point. And he may not be in the Super Bowl every year, but he continues to be successful. And he made his decision when, quite frankly, a lot of people were saying that Russell Wilson shouldn't be the starting quarterback. And he continues to show people that they're wrong and that he's a better coach than what they think he is.
Right. So
Gotcha.
good luck to them. And then you mentioned the Baltimore game.
Yep.
I didn't see that game either.
I'll say this much. The man, the myth, the legend, Lamar Jackson is probably playing just as good, if not better, this year than during his MVP years, Jimmy, for what it's worth. It looks like, he's gotten to the point, no injuries. Obviously, we know that he can throw the ball, he can run the ball, but he's actually getting a lot more comfortable because they've got a few more tools, including the king, Derrick Henry, who is taking some of the run threat away from Lamar Jackson, which allows him to be more of a quarterback and not someone who has to literally carry the team every game because he doesn't have very much to work with the exception of course, his tight end, Jimmy. So this team looks like a team that I don't know if they're ready to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think that they are definitely a lot more sturdy this year. The only question mark right now is that the Ravens are looking a little bit more porous on defense for sure than they were last year. That's the question.
Well, the road to the Super Bowl in the East, Tom, AFC, goes through Kansas City. So
yeah, period.
You got to gear yourself up to deal with that beast at some point. But Lamar Jackson, Tom, I mean, his problem has always been just not having enough talent around him.
Exactly. So and now they are fixing that problem.
They really have a double run threat in their running game with, and so if you can run the ball in this league, you can win. You control the clock, reduce turnovers. So that's a good thing. And like I said, Derrick Henry was a beast out in Alabama when he was in college. He's a north-south runner. He's not a Barry Sanders type. He's not going to fake you out. You don't ever have to worry about them hips, jobbing you and faking you out. When he gets the ball, he just runs towards the goal line. That's all he knows to do. And he's a big guy, and so it's hard to bring him down. But with him and Jackson being a running threat also, it's hard to key on either one of them. And plus, you can throw the ball on top of that. You got a few weapons. So I predict, Tom, that they're going to be in the mix come playoff time.
Agreed. All right, Jimmy, it is halfway through the hour. We are now ready for our movie contest.
Oh.
And rules pretty much similar. We're going to show a clip of a movie that you have to identify. The first person to identify that movie using the number below 346-666-6829. You get 1 point if you identify, or you are the first to identify the official name of the movie.
We don't need the actors, what year, we don't need the director, the writer, nothing. Just the title of the movie. First one wins. Here we go, Tom. We ready?
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
Beaked Iron.
Here we go, Lightning.
Right behind you. Where did this jackass come from?
Get out of there, Lightning. Come on, get out of there.
Don't you worry about me. I'm just playing with him.
Stop fooling around. Damn it, I'm coming.
No, you're not. Stay put. I'm gonna show him a little trick I learned.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds to get this right. Starting to get some, getting some responses in. So we'll see who was the first person to get this one right. That was a very, I remember watching that movie. It was a good movie, entertaining,
Very good movie.
historical. All right, we've got a couple of responses in. Well, got a couple more seconds.
Come on, people. Got a few seconds left. Get those entries in.
All right, Jimmy, we are out of time. 30 seconds are over with. We've got a couple of responses. Unfortunately, neither of those responses are the official name of the film, which was Red Tails. And that, of course, is the movie story of the Tuskegee Airmen. We got someone who knew what it was.
Right.
Of course, we got someone who said Tuskegee Airmen, but that's not the name of the movie. And we also got Top Gun. Actually, they wrote Two Gun, not Top Gun. But we've got Tuskegee Airmen and Top Gun, but actually the name of the movie is Red Tails. So if you have not seen that movie,
Go see it.
great movie, great family movie. Just one for the entire family, and it's also historical as well.
And then on top of that, Tom, just a little bit of a historical reference about the Red Tails. You know, when they did bomber escorts over Germany, they never lost a bomber.
Yep.
And generally, about 50% of bombers would get shot down, even when they were being escorted. But the Red Tails never lost a bomber, and they became highly requested by the bombardiers and bombers, pilots, to say, hey, we want those, whoever's flying those planes, the Red Tails, that's who we want to escort us, because we're pretty much guaranteed to go fly our mission and get back home. So just a little bit, but yeah, great movie. If you haven't seen it, please go out there, and it's probably on a DVD, Blu-ray. So go out there, or you probably maybe even watch it on YouTube, rent from streaming. So but definitely go watch it. Okay, TD, what is our next story that we have out
All
there?
right, Jimmy, we've got a couple of stories coming up. First, we will start out with an interesting story that you found about a high school. Of course, we focus on education in Fairfax County, Virginia, Jimmy, and used to be the #1 ranked high school in the United States of America. And that's saying something, because I think we've got, about 26,000 high schools that may be public and private, but
Right.
it fell from #1 to #14. This is actually on the backdrop of, I don't know how many years they were #1, but I know they were #1 at some point
In
in
the
time.
last 5 years, they were #1 for like 3 of those years. And then
Gotcha.
last year, they dropped to #14.
Okay, just within 1 or 2 year time frame. So all that being said is we will talk about this and kind of discuss the why part of this story. So actually, Fairfax Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology in Fairfax, Virginia, once ranked among the top high schools in the country, has seen its rankings fall to number 14 in
Still
the.
pretty good, Tom. Nationwide, it's one of the top 15 high schools in the nation.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's not that's not like a slouch that they dropped from 1 to 14, but it's number one. It used to be a number one, just like those folks down in Alabama used to win championships. I guess anything short of that is a failure for them.
I guess so, kind of like the old Alabama Crimson Tide. If you're not the championship, you don't win it. But this has caused a lot of consternation with the parents of some of the students, who have been going to this school. Of course, this is a U.S. News and World Report ranking that we're talking about, which has sparked a lot of concern among the parents and residents who support this school, which has been, of course, consistently a top contender in the ranking for years. And by the way, the admissions process was overhauled in 2020 to prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion, removing standardized testing. Critics of the new policy argued that it was lowered academic standards and has led to a reduction in Asian American students who account for, what is it, I believe about 2/3 of the students, Jimmy,
55%.
give or take. Some students at Thomas Jefferson are cheering the Supreme Court's decision to uphold this new change to the admission standards, and some are not so happy. But they pointed to the fact, those who don't have as much concern, that TJ is still ranked number one in Virginia in the greater DC area, which is still a pretty significant achievement, though they dropped from number one to number 14 in the nation. And what I also found out, Jimmy, is that the principal, I don't know if that she is forced to resign or voluntarily resign, but Dr. Ann Bonita Tibbus, who served as a principal for now 7 years, is resigning but will remain in the Fairfax County School District. She will take on a new role as Executive Director of Talent Acquisition and Management within the Department of Human Resources. That kind of sounds like a promotion, Jimmy, but I don't know.
Well, maybe a way of promoting the person to keep their mouth shut. Let me just say this, Tom. If it's just about rankings, all these kids who graduate from this school are going to do quite well. It's not like Harvard or MIT or Rice University are going to look and say, well, your school is no longer number one, so we're not going to accept you. So chances are the kids that come out of this school are still going to come out with a really good education. But the other part of that, if it's not just about ranking, if it's really about the quality of education, the kids who had to work really hard to meet the admission standards to get in, to see other kids are now able to get in who have not worked as hard or maybe didn't have the results talent-wise that they had, and especially if you were denied because there are only so many seats for new admission that you can open up each year. And if your child had better credentials and was denied because you didn't quite fall into one of the DEI slots, then that's a shame, and that shouldn't happen. So my official position is that don't hurt the kids. The kids who deserve to get in should have first shot, and if there are openings after that that you want to make part of some diversity program, then open those up for diversity if you want to, even if it means the kids don't quite meet the admission standards, the testing standards. But what you don't do is hurt the ones who do. And so that way, the kids who deserve to be in are still getting in. If you have some extra capacity, you can work on diversity at that point, and hopefully nobody's harmed. But like I said, it doesn't matter if you're ranked number one in the nation or number 20th in the nation, or even number 100 in the nation. You're still one of the elite schools in the nation of 26,000 high schools. So
And that's because that's not the top 1%. That's not the top 10th of 1%. That's the top 1,000th of 1%, even being number 14 out of that many schools.
That's correct. So hopefully, I don't know which is the case, if it's truly just about rankings or if it's really about preventing injury to children. But I would hope that no kids get injured in this process. Take care of them first, the deserving first, and then diversity second. But if you have to sacrifice one, I would say sacrifice the diversity and to make sure that kids who have qualified and deserve to be there get first shot.
And then the other question, I think, I mean, some of the parents said leadership on behalf of the now former principal, and was it really changing the admissions requirements in order to make sure that the school was more balanced, or was it leadership or lack thereof in terms of maintaining the rigorous requirements for the students who were there, regardless of how that worked? Because this young lady, well, I don't know what her age she is, but she's been there 7 years, and so obviously she's been there while they were ranked, and she is responsible for sealing the stamp on the quality of teaching there and leading the culture there as well. So, I mean, no wonder 14 may sound bad, but when you have that many high schools in the country, who knows what the instances are? But I would agree with you in terms of maintaining the quality of leadership. That is a pretty I don't want to say steep drop, but a noticeable drop to the parents who are trying to get their kids in the elite of the elite of the elite colleges.
Right. And in some schools, Tom, even at the college level, to me, are putting too much weight on diversity. And I understand what they're trying to do. They want the campus to kind of reflect more of the population, and they think education and diversity are pretty much on par levels. They're not. Your primary focus is education. So make sure you're doing that first. And then, like I said, if you have some capacity to work on diversity, then open that door, but only open it up as you meet your first goal. So don't put diversity and on the same level as education, because diversity is not really going to pay your bill unless you're a DEI hire. Otherwise, you're going to need that quality education and talent and hard work to get ahead.
All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and go to our next story. Found an interesting story this past week that I thought I'd bring to the table. The first Black-owned sneaker boutique in the United States, called Premium Goods. Owner being Jennifer Ford Jimmy out of the Houston
My
area.
new hero.
Absolutely, who's from Premium Good. Started the brand in 2004, but she is the first African American woman to own a sneaker boutique in the United States, located in Houston, and who has developed a partnership for a signature sneaker brand with Adidas. The Houston native launched the Premium Goods brand in 2004 after graduating from Emory University with an economics degree and pursuing her passion for retail and women's product development in New York. It is the first independent sneaker brand boutique in the state of Texas. She dedicates her designs to honoring Houston. She opened her Premium Goods location as an extension of a friend's original Premium Goods store in Brooklyn, New York. Her latest partnership with Adidas has launched a limited edition sneaker in honor of Houston's distinctive car culture. For those of you who are Houston natives. And according to Ford, her position as one of the few Black women in the industry has inspired her to support her community and empower other women and minorities, so-called, as they seek to achieve their own goals. Afrotech noted that a portion of the limited edition sneaker proceeds will go towards the Dekaney High School Auto Tech program. And sneaker lovers can check out other brands, including, of course, Nike, Converse, New Balance, and others at her store, either physical, brick and mortar, or online. You can just Google Premium Goods. Her team also has stylish selections for kids through Premium Kids, a children's store. Ford's team launched in 2010. Jimmy, I was surprised that she was the first. It is 2024, but absolutely outstanding story.
Well, the sneaker market, Tom, we know, is hundreds of billions of dollars, worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And I'm glad to see she's doing well. For those with the financial knowledge, I would suggest reaching out to the sister, helping her raise money so she can grow and expand her brand nationwide for as much as our kids spend money on tennis shoes. And the fact, Tom, that she's socially conscious to give money back and support, which is more than the Nikes and Adidas of the world who suck money out of the inner city from these kids, give nothing back other than paying, you know, celebrities and stars big lucrative contracts. But as far as giving back to a little league or a basketball team, something that would actually help the community, they're nowhere to be found. So congratulations. I'm going to do my best to see if I can reach out to Miss Ford and get her to come on the show, see if she's interested in coming on the show. And people, if you have a choice where you spend your money. So I would say go online, give her the first shot. You're gonna be spending $400 or $500 on tennis shoes. Give Miss Ford the first shot to earn your money. If she has the brand that you want, the size that you want it, then it's not going to matter if she has the next day air and you get the next day versus walking out the store with the shoe on your foot. So give her the first shot, support her, let's do what we can to help this sister out because we need more women from Force to be doing this. Like I said, Tom, we are the best consumers in the world. We're just not very good at controlling the industry that we support billions of dollars poured in the tennis shoes, and but none of that money comes back to us, Tom. And we're very little in the chain in the retail chain when it comes to providing these shoes. So I'm wishing this sister all the luck. I hope she stays in business for another 200 years and grow.
All that being said, Jimmy, let's go ahead. We're about a quarter till. So now we need to go back into our next song contest. So our next song contest, the same rules. We'll play a song, identify the artist of record, the official title of the song. You get 1 or 2 points depending on who gets it first. Jimmy.
Here we go.
Just stay in my arms if you dare, Master. Imagine you're there to walk away from me. No, come here, baby. Don't look away. I said, don't you dare walk away.
All right, we've got 30 seconds to get our responses in, and we will see what we've got.
All right.
All right, let's see what we got here.
So we get some texts in.
All right.
Whoever is 076, I think, got the name correct.
Yeah.
Oh, 076 got the 076 get the title correct.
All right. It looks like we've got just in time 30 seconds. And let me see here. Let me make sure I've got this right. Make sure I'm looking at this correctly. Okay, so it looks like our winner for both the artist of record, which is Whitney Houston, who cannot know that voice, and actually also got the title, or the correct title is going to be Audrey K, cousin Audrey K. She was the first to identify Whitney Houston as the artist of record, and then she came back and said, I believe the official name of the song is I Have Nothing.
All right, for cousin Audrey.
All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and get to our next story. Jimmy, I found another interesting story that we got to bring to the table that I think you would appreciate. South Carolina is building its very first monument dedicated to an African American person. South Carolina is preparing to put up its first individual statue for an African American on its state house lawn, honoring a man who put the Confederate clothes on in order to steal a slaveholder's ship and sell his family and a dozen others to freedom during the Civil War. Robert Smalls isn't just being honored for his audacious escape, however. He spent a decade in the U.S. House, helped rewrite South Carolina's Constitution to allow Black men equality after the Civil War, and then put up a valiant but doomed fight when white supremacists returned to power and eliminated nearly all of the gains that Smalls and other men who fought for freedom actually gained until post-Reconstruction. The idea for a statue has been percolating for years, but there was a small, quiet opposition preventing the bill from getting through, which changed finally this year. The bill created a special committee that has until January the 5th to come up with a design, a location on the State House lawn, and the money to pay for whatever memorial they end up choosing. Smalls bought his master's house after he was able to escape in Beaufort, South Carolina. Technically, Jimmy, and I've actually been to Beaufort, South Carolina, in part with the money made from turning the Confederate ship over to Union forces, and also allowed the man's wife to live there after he died and she became a widow. Smalls fought for education for all and to keep the gains of African Americans made during the Civil War. Smalls would see a new constitution in 1895, however, wipe out the African Americans' right to vote. He was fired from his federal customs collector job in 1913 by then President Woodrow Wilson and purged a large number of Black men out of government jobs. And of course, Jimmy, this is after, of course, Woodrow Wilson got the support from the Black community.
He got lots of support from the Black community, Tom.
Yes, he did.
Stabbed on the back.
Yep.
I've actually written an article on that was recently published, publishes on LinkedIn and on my syndication. So, but people go read up on Woodrow Wilson. Very dangerous.
One of the worst. He had to be one of the worst presidents in
the
U.S.
worst for Black people, Tom. And he was the father of the progressive movement. This is why I have a little internal laugh when I meet Black people who call themselves progressive. And it's like you just don't know what you're saying, because if you knew who the father of the progressive movement was and what he did to Blacks, you wouldn't so proudly walk around putting that title on yourself. But congratulations to Mr. Smalls. He deserves it.
The descendants, of course, and of course, make sure that you keep an eye on this, because.
And one more little thing, Tom. One more shout out to South Carolina. They're the only Confederate state to officially apologize for slavery. I wish all of them, all the slaveholding states, would have followed suit and done the same. I think it would have been a great step towards healing race relations in this nation. But I do want to give South Carolina credit for their step to do what they could on their part to apologize for their part in slavery. So congrats to him and for the state for trying to do the right thing.
Gotcha. All right, we got a couple of more small items, Jimmy. Of course, we talked about this last week. The agenda has finally been set. Major League Baseball World Series will be starting this Friday, Jamie. The storied franchises, the Yankees and the Dodgers, will be starting the World Series this upcoming Friday. And I will be the first to admit that I do not keep up with Major League Baseball during the season because I can't keep up with 120 some odd games. But these are probably two of the most historic franchises.
The biggest market teams out there, Tom, with a rich history. And I'm sure the television network are elated.
Yes.
West Coast, East Coast, two powerhouses historically. I don't think you can ask for a better matchup.
And Jimmy, this will be the equivalent, literally, of the Los Angeles Lakers and the Boston Celtics playing in the NBA Finals. But I would say that
Cowboys Steelers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody who's running a TV station or radio is absolutely elated that these two franchises are going to be playing. This should be an absolute bonanza.
Yes, it should be.
So for those of you out there, I don't have a dog in this hunt. I'm not a Yankees fan. I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I will be checking out the game because I do at least start paying attention when it gets to at least the second or third
I
round.
will watch a couple of games. I generally watch a few from the World Series because that's when it gets exciting. Yeah, during the season is just way too boring for me.
Gotcha. Now, for those of you who are out there, if y'all have a favorite team and put on the chat line who you want to win, who you expect to win, put it on the chat line. If you're out there on the chat line, I want to hear from you. Who is your favorite team? Who do you expect to win the?
The 6 games with the Yankees, Tom.
You going with the Yankees?
6 games.
Yankees in six.
Yeah, Yankees in 6.
All right, good deal. One last story, Jimmy, that we've got to at least acknowledge since we've talked a little bit about it this year. Want to congratulate the New York Liberty, who beat the Minnesota Lynx in overtime in Game 5 to win their first ever WNBA championship, 67-62 in overtime. It was a showdown, and I think this is the New York Liberty's fifth try at trying to win a championship. Finally got over the hump. The Liberty, I believe, have already won, I think, 4 championships. And the New York Liberty finally got over the hump. New York got a team high 17 points from Jonquel Jones, who was named the MVP for the playoff series or for the championship series. The 5th game of this year's WNBA final between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty was the most viewed WNBA finals in 25 years across all networks, cited by Nielsen. So, of course, we want to wish them congratulations. And
Congratulations.
exactly. And, we will see what happens. And Jimmy, going past the WNBA, now that they've gotten past their season and they've crowned a new winner, the NBA just started their regular season on the 22nd. I think that was Monday of this week, Jimmy. And it will be very interesting to see who comes out. Of course, we have the Boston Celtics, who are the returning NBA champions, Jimmy. And I know that you've got a couple of dogs in the hunt. You're pretty much a Mavericks
I'm going with
fan.
the Mavs, Tom. I'm a local goober, so I'm going with the Mavs. And let's see if Clay Thomas can get us over the hump this year.
Yeah, they're giving Boston the highest odds of winning this year than the Denver Nuggets. The Knicks, it looks like the Mavericks are the 6th most likely team to win the championships this year, right behind Oklahoma City and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So what do you think is going to take for the Mavericks to get to the next level this year, Jimmy? Because they just 2 years ago were in the semifinals and then they fell a notch.
One time, I mean, they went out and got the pieces they needed to.
So you
A
think
little faster.
Clay Thompson is going to be the clincher?
Yes, he's going to bring some needed offense when they need it. Clay is a shooter, a 3-point guy, but he can also penetrate, and he will draw a lot of attention. He'll open that offense up, and so you don't necessarily have the big 2 anymore. You have the big 3, and so when you're able to keep at least 2 of them on the floor at any given time, it used to be Luka and point guard, other guard can't even think of his name. I'm having some eye-pain fog memory. But now the strategy is going to be to keep at least 2 of the big 3 on the floor at any given time while one person rests. And that gives the Mavericks a tremendous advantage over what they used to have.
Well, we will definitely find out soon enough, Jimmy. They have a long season as well, about 80 games, 80-something, 82 games, Jimmy. So I don't claim to follow them throughout the season. I usually start picking up towards the end of the year, maybe the first or second series of the playoffs, depending on what the matchups look like.
Okay. And so Tom, it looked like we didn't get to our story about the Adas. We'll cover them.
We'll cover that next week.
Cover them next week.
All right, folks. We want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you haven't, make sure that you like this show, share this content, And of course, we will see you next week, Jimmy, because if it's Wednesday night,
Sir, Black Man Speaks.
good evening, everyone.